In this video, I'll walk you through 5 simple steps to start and operate your company in the US from anywhere in the world. My name is Diego Sampaio, one of the co-founders of Globalfy, and today I'll be covering the main aspects of starting and managing a company in the country, even though you don't live in the United States of America. The first thing that I would like to highlight is that anyone, except from some countries like Cuba, can start a company in the US from abroad. And all you need is a passport. The entire process is done 100% online, directly through our website. And with the right planning, you don't even have to pay taxes in the US. That sounds really interesting, right? And different than you may be expecting, the process takes about 15 to 25 days, and it's really accessible to the majority of the foreign entrepreneurs. So now let's get started. And I believe that the first aspect is to understand how taxes works in the US. You need to understand how an LLC is taxed versus a corporation, because that will have a direct impact on how much you're going to have to pay to the IRS every year. So an LLC, it's called as a pass-through entity. This means that the LLC doesn't have to pay taxes, but all the profits, they need to be distributed for the members, for the owners of the company, and those individuals are the ones that's going to be reporting their income tax in the US. Well, but you may be thinking about do not pay taxes in the US, right? There's a legal way for you to do that. If you have an LLC with only one member, so an LLC that is considered a disregarded entity, and you are not a US citizen, you don't live in the US, so you're not a US tax resident, and you are performing your services from abroad, such as digital services, software development, online consulting, you may not be subjected to taxes in the US. It doesn't mean that you may have additional requirements in your home country, in the country that you have your tax residency. But in the US, you may not even have to pay income tax. So this is a characteristic of an LLC. The company doesn't pay taxes. Who reports and pays are the owners. On the other hand, a corporation is a complete separate tax entity from the founders. So this means that a corporation will always pay 21% of taxes on top of their profits, not on their revenue, but on the profits. And if they decide to distribute profits for the owners of the company, so for the shareholders, then the shareholders, they have to report and also pay tax in the US. So an LLC will pay from 10 to 37% in taxes, while a corporation will pay 21% on the corporate level and then 30% on the personal level. Now that you know about LLC and corporation, the next step is to understand that the state that you register your company will have a huge impact in terms of how you operate the business and also on the fees to maintain the business operating. So the majority of our clients, they're gonna be choosing from Wyoming, Delaware, or Florida to register their company in the US. Wyoming and Delaware, they have something that's really interesting. That is privacy over the owner's information. So different than what happens in Florida, where all the company's details are public, in Wyoming and Delaware, it doesn't happen. So this means that you can register a company in those states without letting the state know who's the owner of the company. On top of that, Wyoming, Delaware, and even Florida, they have a zero state income tax. So this means that different than what happens in California, that an individual may have to pay up to 10% in state income taxes for companies formed over there. In Wyoming and Delaware and even Florida, you don't have state income taxes for LLCs. And then when we go like to the startup world, you may be thinking about Delaware, right? Because Delaware is the #1 destination for companies that are looking to raise capital. Because the majority of the investors require you to have a company registered in that state because they really trust in the specific laws and courts to solve problems between partners. But if this is not your case, Wyoming may be an outstanding choice for two main reasons. The first one, the process of registering a company in Wyoming takes a few minutes. So different than what happens in Delaware, that the state may take up to 2 weeks to process your state registration. In Wyoming, the process is done online. So this means that in less than a business day, you have your company registered in that state. And the second main reason is because of the maintenance fees. So in Wyoming, you're gonna have a fee around $100 to register the business. The same thing that happens with Delaware. But the difference comes on the annual renewals. That's called annual report or franchise tax. In Delaware, an LLC has to pay $300 a year to maintain their active status with the state. In Wyoming, it costs only $60 a year. And that's one of the reasons that having made Wyoming like the top one destination amongst sole entrepreneurs. Now that you know the difference between an LLC and a corporation, or registering a company in Wyoming or Delaware, you may have choices for an LLC in Wyoming or a corporation in Delaware. But how is the registration process? The registration process can be done 100% online from abroad, so pretty simple. You can do directly on Globalfy's website, where we have packages that make the process really streamlined and accessible for the majority of entrepreneurs. Once you start the process on our website, the first step is going to be registering the company in the state. They may take from 1 business day in Wyoming to 2 weeks or 3 weeks in Delaware. Once the state registration is completed, we're going to use an SS4 form to request EIN, that is like the federal tax ID for your company. This process will take another 10 to 15 business days. Once you have the state registration and the EIN number, we're gonna create the final documents for your company. That's gonna be usually an operating agreement for an LLC or a bylaws for a corporation. And then with the state registration, the EIN letter, and the operating agreement for your company, you're gonna be ready to open your bank account. And this is our fourth step. So setting up your bank account can be done, again, 100% remotely. There are fintechs and neobanks like Mercury, Lily, Relayfy, that allows you to make all that process from your home country. You're gonna mostly need your company documents and also a valid passport for all members that have more than 25% of the company. You will also need an utility bill that can be from your home address in your home country. It doesn't have to be a utility bill from the US. So with all documents that Globalfy will provide you, plus your passport and a utility bill from your home country, you're going to be able to apply for those bank accounts directly from our platform. You don't have to go to Mercury's website to do that. We have a direct connection with them because of our partnership that allows you to do the process directly from our platform. And on top of that, after you made a specific deposit on Mercury's bank account, you will also get some cash back based on our partnership. So from the business formation to the bank account, you can do everything 100% remotely directly into our website. And as important as starting your business is to manage and maintain your business in good standing. The fifth step here is that you need to understand all requirements and liabilities of operating a company in the US. So once you register your company, you're gonna have to every year do an annual report or franchise tax with the state. You will also have to file some forms or even an income tax return with the IRS. Different than happens in other countries, you don't have to have an active monthly accounting or bookkeeping service taking care of your company. But it's really important that you find a reliable partner like Globalfy to manage those requirements for you. So once we form your company, you're gonna have access to our free compliance calendar, where you can see all the liabilities and obligations that your company have for the next 12 months, and also how to fulfill them. So although it's not mandatory that you have an accounting or bookkeeping firm helping you in this process in the US, it's really important that you know that you can count on a specialized company like Globalfy to take care of all those requirements, making sure that you don't have to pay fines to the IRS. So the goal of the video is to give you like 5 steps and 5 main things that you have to understand when you're starting your company in the US. So the first one, again, figure out about taxes. The second one, understanding about the different states and how that impact your business. The third one is understanding that you can do all of that remotely from your home country. You can set up your bank account also remotely using fintechs such as Mercury, Relayfy, or Lily. And the fifth one is that although you're not required to have an accounting or bookkeeping firm, working on your books on a daily basis is really important that you find a company that you can trust and that can guide you to the process of maintaining your company in the US in a good state. And if you're looking for that good partner, check our website, globalfy.com. We've been here for the past 10 years, working with over 10,000 entrepreneurs from 100 different countries, helping them in the process of setting up their company in the US, providing the business address, registered agent, accounting, and tax services. My name is Diego Sampaio. It was a pleasure guiding you here in those 5 steps to start your business in the US. Look forward to talk to you soon again. Have a good one. Bye-bye.